I am, of course, the Beardy, and today I want to introduce a special guest, someone who's got the fashion sense and the scholarly wisdom of an absent-minded professor. I call him Elbow Patches.
Hi,
This is my
I'm
friend John.
I'm
I mentioned him
John.
before. He's here for a video tonight, and tonight we're going to discuss Warcraft. You've already heard a lot of what I had to say. I have a couple new things to add because I went back and saw it in 3D. First off, we're going to see what John, who just saw it, I think today, see what John has to say about the movie.
As is my wont, we're gonna overthink this fantasy epic because that's what we do. But I enjoyed myself. I know it seems kind of like a silly enterprise to adapt a massive multiplayer RPG to a movie, but I like the fact that the movie really went full bore into what it is, this high fantasy epic with giant green creatures from another world. And we all have an idea, I think, because of the Lord of the Rings movies, of what works on film looks like, what high fantasy looks like, what wizardry looks like. And this movie's like, no, we're gonna have our own thing because there's a lot of different looks and feels and fantastical elements that can be in fantasy. There's millions of books about that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all different, or not different, but a lot of them come from the same places, but they branch off in many, many different directions.
Sure.
So this is one direction. You have kind of like warthog looking orcs with gigantic deltoids for some reason, and fighting humans. And
Yeah,
Travis Framel's in there, and he's a handsome bloke.
he is. He is indeed. Um,
Get
but yeah,
lost in those eyes. Ooh.
that's one of the things, like you said, I really liked about this movie is it kind of brings the fantasy genre that we've seen on film the last couple decades to a whole different level. Like you said, we've seen the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, and like the Narnia movies and a couple other things that have tried to claim their stakes in there. And this one just really went for it. I mean, you've got these giant orcs that moving away. Again, we've talked about the motion capture, how awesome that is in the movie. It's something completely different than the way we saw orcs behave and look and just move in those movies. So yeah, that's really cool. All right, so going into the movie, did you have a lot of knowledge or experience with the games, either the any of the real time strategy or the MMO?
I had some. I played the real time strategy game as a kid, uh, and I was around people who played the MMORPG. I was familiar with a lot of the language and the tropes and the jokes and stuff. Like, I know who Leroy Jenkins is, but I never actually made the jump into the character or it made a character and went into the game.
Okay, so for the most part, the story there's not a lot of the character backgrounds that you would have. So you kind of went in with not really expecting where the story was going to go.
Correct.
Okay.
But I'm familiar with the look and feel of Azeroth
Okay.
and with the gameplay language of both real time strategy games and RPGs.
Okay. All right. Cool. So what? First off, I guess talk about some of the performances from the actors, the cast themselves.
Yeah,
What stood out to you? What didn't you like?
I was really impressed with a lot of the orc performances, especially Toby Kebbell.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you pronounce his name? Kibble.
Sure.
Yes. He was good. I really
Durotan.
Durotan. He was excellent. I really felt his performance through the motion capture, through those very cumbersome mocap tusks. Like, I really felt that he was emoting as like an actual character, and that's really impressive because he was in Planet of the Apes,
Mm-hmm.
and those movies, as impressive as they are, we all have like a basis for what apes look like, how they behave, not only because they look a lot like people and they're talking English in those movies, but we know what chimpanzees look like. They're a thing we can relate to.
Right.
We don't know what these orcs look like. That's
Right.
weird.
Right.
So the fact that there's basically like talking warthogs walking around, the fact that we can feel that these characters have emotion is really impressive.
I totally agree with that. Between him, all of them, like I didn't even realize that it was Clancy Brown was playing was it Black Hand?
Yeah, Black Hand. Yeah, yeah. I didn't
Until I noticed his name in the credits, I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh wow!"
Yeah, I was like,
And,
"Oh, no wonder he's so
yeah.
scary." It's
So
Clancy Brown.
when I went and saw it the second time, I was like listening, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Okay, now I can totally sense him in that." And yeah, it was just really because he has that huge beard, which normally he doesn't have that kind of face mane going on. So it was interesting.
I'll take Clancy Brown's voice in anything.
I will say, seeing it in 3D for seeing the second viewing in 3D, I would say puts this movie in 3D for me was on par with Avatar. Seeing Avatar in 3D on the big screen, it just opened up depth. Like I was telling John that scene at the beginning, and he saw it in 2D.
Yes.
I saw it in 3D the second time, and it the opening scene in the garrison when Lothar is going to inspect all the dead, from the initial raid that the humans find out about. I saw it in 2D the first time, so seeing it in 3D, that scene was just kind of like, it felt like I was at the end of this massive hall. Like it was very visual different. It felt much more visceral. So if you enjoy 3D and it doesn't affect your eyes and you like that, I think the 3D would definitely enhance your viewing.
For me, it just bothers me almost every
it's not
I've
for
seen.
everybody.
Sorry.
So Toby Kebbell, his performance and a lot of the orcs. What about some of the humans? Did any of the humans stick out to you, or other than the eyes of Travis Fimmel?
Yeah, he was very good. I think a lot of the humans honestly did feel out of place, though. I like that Dominic Cooper and his Travis Fimmell's sister.
I can't remember her name. She was Reyna on S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, and she's also Tulip in Preacher. So Dominic Cooper and her are in a relationship in that TV show and a movie. So that whatever. But they were fine, and Ben Foster's was fine, but it just kind of felt like Chris Hemsworth said no. Michael Fassbender said no. Tom Hardy said no. James Franco said no. It's we got like 12 out. Idris Elba said no. Oh man, we got nobody. Get Ben Foster. It felt like everybody's sixth choice for these roles. And as great as they are, most other things, like I think Dominic Cooper is flawless in Preacher. I think he's flawless as Howard Stark. But he just didn't have the gravitas of a king. No, I
know what you're saying. I think I think that was intentional in the fact that since we're all so familiar with humans, I think the whole race of humans in the movie was kind of downplayed as far as the wow aspect, no pun intended, of them. Because I noticed on other reviews I've seen, people are like, the humans were kind of boring, and no offense to the actor, I enjoyed it, but compared to the I definitely wanted to watch more of what was going on with the orcs. That was more intriguing because, as you said earlier, to me it was such a different way when we've seen before, because the orcs have always just been, in Tolkien's world, the orcs are just pure evil. They don't have reasoning and logic as to why they're doing what they're doing. They are just embodiments of evil. So it's interesting to see these characters so fleshed out with, he's just brought a son into the world and he's struggling with that because the evil Gul'dan just poured, that evil the fell magic into his son at the moment of his birth. So, there's all these interesting things. And with the humans, it's just kind of the typical fantasy story. They're just trying to protect their kingdom. They don't give them a lot to do. So hopefully, if this does well enough to see more, I have a feeling we'll go on with other characters, but maybe we'll get to see some more depth in them. I don't know. Sorry, I just really rambled there.
I think I should apologize to Dominic Cooper. I think I'm putting him out most prominently because I'm a jerk, I guess. But I think the most out of place character was Ben Foster as the Guardian. I just didn't buy him, I guess. And I think he was the most interesting human character because of all the character turns he has. He's the most desperate human because he's dying, and you find out that he's kind of infected with the fell magic, and then when he becomes later, and part of what I like about this movie is that it really goes hard with the magic. Like, the Guardian just kind of like twists his hands around and does some like cheese signs, and he creates a lightning storm and kills a bunch of orcs, and it leads to the death of another major character, sadly. And so I think that that character was kind of lost in Ben Foster. I think he's best playing kind of whiny weirdos, I guess.
So I guess I don't know, because my first real introduction to Ben Foster was Hostage, the Bruce Willis movie where he's kind of the crazy, punk teen that they took over the house and he was crazy in that, and then in 3:10 to Yuma.
Yeah, he was really good in 3:10 to Yuma.
So for me, seeing him, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit there, and that's totally fine because that's what makes these things interesting. To me, he brought a level of groundedness and reality to that character doing those things that other people, it would have been cheesy, but it's like, okay, I usually believe Ben Foster 100% is his character. So that added to the Guardian, to me. The way they referred to him, though, a lot, they just kept referring to him as the Guardian instead of by name. And, that was kind of awkward. And the giant statue to him in the middle of the sea, which I'm sure is just... I never spent much time in Stormwind because I always played on the Horde faction. So I don't know if that was supposed to be out of the game reference or not, but it just was kind of very, I don't know, like, hi, I'm the Protector, and here's a giant 300-foot statue of me.
Speaking of statues, I like that he was forged in a golem the whole time.
Yeah.
Because I like the fact that while he's being infected with the fell magic and his life is slowly being drained away, he's attempting to give life to stone. So as he's dying, he's trying to bring more life into the world.
Yeah.
And so even though it's gonna be like a slave to his will and therefore a slave to evil, at least it's almost as if he's like this one little last vestige of his humanity is like coming out in this kind of essence of himself. Yeah. So I like that aspect to his character. But what you were saying about characters being grounded, I thought Travis Fimmel did a really good job of grounding his character. I thought he was probably the most grounded human, and I really felt that he was most affected by the events of the war, especially because of what happens to his son, which is rather tragic.
And he's another character who could have easily gone over the top. Like, you don't get these huge, and I love huge heroic, like, rousing speeches from war commanders and stuff, but he's kind of like all business in this movie.
Yeah.
And he's got some sarcasm and humor to him that I really appreciated. And we are going to be running out of time here pretty quick. Any other thoughts you want to throw out, John?
We should mention Paula Patton as, what was her character's name?
Garona.
She was excellent. I did have a little bit of problem with like her mouthpiece. It seemed a little silly, but even with that, she really got her character across very much so, and she was so conflicted and so kind of bifurcated, and falling in love with Travis Fammel's character. I really did believe that she would find like a kindred spirit in this other character who was also kind of living in two worlds because of his because he had no family left except for his kind of military kind of role, that he would find somebody else who had also nothing left, and so I like that. So so there are things like actual emotional truths to this movie, and thanks to the director and screenwriter Duncan Jones, who directed Moon. If you haven't seen it, you should see it. It's an amazing movie. Yes.
And again, one last time, I'll say, with everything, a lot of this stuff could be so cheesy and over the top, but the performances and the actors they cast really grounded a lot of it, I think, and kind of pulled it in. Because like you said, the movie really goes for it. It goes all out for the gaming world. It's just crazy.
I think it is cheesy and over the top, but that's kind of what
But like in the best way. I mean, it's not like, to me, it wasn't as cheesy as like the Turtles or, something like that. Like, it's not, it takes itself seriously, but it has fun doing it and pulls you along for the ride.
Yeah, it's cheesy, but has respect for the property, I think is what
So, yeah, go see it. 2D, 3D, whatever works for your eyes. And we'll catch you next time on the Beardy and the Baldy.